Admiral Karina West hadn't slept in 36 hours. The coffee in her mug had gone cold, but she drank it anyway, eyes fixed on the massive holographic display dominating the Cheyenne Mountain Command Center. Contact at 42 minutes and closing, Admiral Lieutenant Santos reported, his voice steady despite the tension electrifying the air. 18 vessels. Formation consistent with tactical approach. Karina nodded once. Humanity had prepared for this possibility since the earliest days of SETI, but preparation was theory. This was reality. Alien ships. In her solar system, all defense platforms show green, Colonel Takahashi announced from the weapons station. Orbital railgun batteries locked and tracking. First response squadrons are airborne and at holding positions. Let's hope we don't need them, Karina said, but kept her hand near the authorization key hanging at her throat. Humanity would not go quietly if these visitors had conquest in mind. The largest display tracked the aliens' deceleration as they approached Mars orbit. Their technology was unlike anything Earth scientists had theorized. No visible propulsion systems, no radiation signatures, just 18 obsidian teardrop-shaped vessels moving with impossible precision. Admiral, Communications Officer Chen interrupted. We're receiving a transmission. Multiple frequencies, structured data packets. Definitely artificial and definitely directed at us. Karina straightened her uniform jacket. First contact protocols. People. We've drilled for this. Dr. Okafor, is the translation matrix ready? The Nigerian linguist nodded, her fingers dancing across interfaces. As ready as it can be without any baseline reference. The quantum processors are primed for pattern recognition. Put it through. The command center speakers crackled before filling with sounds that weren't quite speech, layered tones that seemed to vibrate through bone rather than air. Dr. Okafor's eyes widened as she watched her displays. The matrix is establishing parameters faster than expected. They're adapting their communication to facilitate translation. They've done this before, Karina said, a chill running down her spine. Within minutes, the alien tones began transforming into something approximating human speech, stilted and oddly cadenced, but comprehensible. Attention Earth-originated biological collective. This vessel group represents authorized extension of Galactic Concord Diplomatic Authority. Your system space is now entering preliminary assessment phase for Protectorate status evaluation. Maintain orbital defense passivity for representative shuttle approach. Karina exchanged glances with UN Secretary-General Alvarez, who had been silently observing from the edge of the command center. They certainly don't waste time with pleasantries, Alvarez remarked dryly. Or options, Karina added. Notice they're not asking permission to enter our orbit. The Secretary-General sighed. We're hardly in a position to refuse. Their technology is clearly centuries beyond ours. With respect, sir, we don't know that. Different doesn't automatically mean superior. Karina turned to her tactical officer. Analysis of their capabilities. Inconclusive. Admiral, their hull material absorbs our scanning attempts. Based on their maneuverability and speed, they outclass our best ships by orders of magnitude, but we're detecting no weapon systems. That we can recognize, Karina corrected. She made her decision. Maintain defense posture but power down targeting systems. Let's not appear hostile. She keyed her comm. This is Admiral Karina West of the United Earth Defense Force. We acknowledge your approach and will prepare to receive your representatives. The response came immediately. Acknowledged, Admiral designated West. Approach vector calculated to minimize disruption to your orbital bodies. Prepare receiving area for biological contact. Concord representatives will determine your evolutionary classification and technological assessment grade. Evolutionary classification. Dr. Okafor frowned. Sounds like we're about to get a report card, Colonel Takahashi muttered. Karina's eyes narrowed as the alien shuttle detached from the largest vessel. More like a job interview we didn't apply for. She turned to her staff. I want full biohazard protocols for the receiving area. and keep our special projects files locked down tight. Something tells me these Concord representatives shouldn't know everything about us right away. As the alien shuttle began its descent toward the designated landing zone, Karina couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was about to discover its place in the universe, and that we might not like where we stood. 6 months after first contact, Admiral Karina West stood at the observation deck of the United Nations headquarters in New York, watching alien mining vessels descend through Earth's atmosphere like hungry locusts. Their iridescent hulls caught the morning sunlight, making them shimmer like beautiful, terrible jewels. Magnificent technology, isn't it, Admiral? West didn't turn to acknowledge High Executor Thrax as he glided to her side. The Concord diplomat's translucent exoskeleton pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that betrayed his smug satisfaction. She'd learned to read his species' emotional displays over the past months of cultural exchange. Magnificent for strip mining operations, she replied evenly. Those are the 6th fleet this month. The agreement specified 2. Thrax's upper limbs performed the gesture that passed for a dismissive shrug among his kind. Resource acquisition quotas have been adjusted based on Concord Central's review of your planet's capacity. Your ceremonial leaders have been notified. Ceremonial. That's what they called Earth's elected officials now. West's new title was equally insulting. Cultural liaison to primitive defense forces. She'd been effectively neutered, reduced to escorting alien dignitaries, while Concord advisors dismantled Earth's military piece by piece. The radiation levels at the Australian extraction site have increased by 15%, she said. Your safety protocols aren't designed for human physiology. An oversight that will be corrected. Thrax responded with practiced diplomatic smoothness. Now I believe you're scheduled to tour our light cruiser Evolutionary Ascendant today. Your scientists are quite eager. West forced a smile. Of course. Dr. Chen is particularly interested in your propulsion systems. Ah, Dr. Chen. Thrax's skin rippled with what West had come to recognize as amusement. An inquisitive mind, though his questions sometimes betray fundamental misunderstandings of biologically evolved technology. Some concepts simply cannot be grasped by species at your developmental stage. She bit back a retort as they walked to the waiting shuttle. The Concord's patronizing attitude was their greatest weakness. They genuinely couldn't imagine that humanity's primitive technology might have advantages. Fascinating, Dr. Marcus Chen whispered, careful to keep his voice low enough that only Admiral West could hear him. They stood inside the Evolutionary Ascendant's engine room, or what passed for one. Instead of machinery, the ship's power came from massive translucent sacs filled with luminous fluid and pulsing organic tissues. Their entire propulsion system is essentially biological, he continued as their Concorde escort chatted with another crew member. They've evolved organisms that can create and manipulate spatial distortions. West raised an eyebrow. Evolved or engineered? Both, I suspect. But therein lies their vulnerability. Chen's eyes gleamed with excitement. Admiral, their biological systems are incredibly sensitive to certain radiation frequencies. When we scanned the engine room, I detected a protective field specifically designed to filter out gamma radiation in the 3.8 to 4.2 MeV range. Why is that significant? Because that's precisely the range produced by our latest fusion experiments, the ones they demanded we shut down last month. West felt a chill of understanding. They're afraid of our radiation technology. Chen nodded subtly. Their biology-based approach makes them vulnerable to something we've been manipulating since the 1940s, and I've identified at least 3 other electromagnetic vulnerabilities their shielding is specifically designed to counteract. Before West could respond, their Concorde escort returned. This area is not meant for extended observation. Your primitive sensory organs could be damaged by prolonged exposure. Of course, West replied with feigned deference. We appreciate your concern for our evolutionary limitations. As they were escorted away, West's mind raced with possibilities. The Concorde's biological technology was indeed magnificent, but it had weaknesses. weaknesses that Earth's primitive technology might be uniquely positioned to exploit. She needed to get Chen off this ship and into a secure facility immediately. Project Prometheus, the classified Dreadnought program she'd been forced to officially cancel, might need to be resurrected after all. 30,000 feet beneath the Pacific Ocean's surface, in a research facility carved into the wall of the Mariana Trench, Admiral Karina West stared through reinforced glass at humanity's last, best hope. "We're calling it a radiation cascade drive," Dr. Chen explained, gesturing to the pulsing blue-white core suspended in the center of the massive chamber. "Conventional fusion is just the catalyst. What happens next is something entirely new. The prototype engine, destined for the heart of Earth's first dreadnought, thrummed with power, casting eerie shadows across the faces of the assembled Project Prometheus team. Getting them here had been a logistical nightmare. Smuggling Earth's best scientists and engineers past Concorde surveillance one by one over 3 months. In simple terms, West asked, watching energy patterns ripple through the containment field. In simple terms, Admiral, we're weaponizing what the Concorde fears most about us. Chen's eyes reflected the blue glow. Their technology manipulates space-time through biological means. Ours tears it open with brute force and radiation. When the cascade effect propagates through their bioships, it will disrupt the cellular functions of their living technology at the quantum level. Commander Elara Jones, West's newly appointed tactical officer, studied the engine with narrowed eyes. "And we're sure they can't detect this facility." "Positive," Chen replied. "The trench's unique mineral composition blocks their scanning technology, and we're running on geothermal power to avoid any energy signature they might track." West nodded, momentarily satisfied, but Jones wasn't. "With respect, Admiral, they'd been one step ahead of us since arrival. I don't trust that we've suddenly outsmarted them." West turned to face Jones, brilliant, intense, and permanently angry, since losing her parents in the Melbourne mining accident that everyone knew was really a Concorde radiation containment failure. "Your caution is noted, Commander, and shared." West turned to the security chief. "Captain Richards, increase surveillance protocols. No communications in or out without triple encryption and my direct authorization." Richards saluted sharply. "Already implemented, Admiral. And we've installed the biological sensors Dr. Chen designed. If there's a Concorde spy down here, we'll find them." West returned to the observation window. Beyond the prototype engine, the massive construction bay housed the skeletal framework of what would become the TDS Prometheus, Earth's first true warship built with one purpose: breaking the Concorde's stranglehold on humanity. The ship's design was unlike anything humanity had conceived before, a fusion of reverse-engineered Concorde technology and human innovation that the aliens would never expect. Where Concorde vessels were elegant organic curves, the Prometheus was angular, armored, purpose-built for war. Most importantly, its systems were entirely non-biological, immune to the bioweapons the Concorde used to subjugate other species. "How soon?" West asked, her voice barely audible over the engine's hum. Chen grimaced. 8 months minimum for a functioning prototype. The radiation cascade technology is stable, but integrating it with the weapons systems is proving challenging. "We don't have 8 months," Jones interjected, pulling up a classified intelligence briefing on her tablet. "Concorde conscription centers are being established on every continent. They're not even hiding it anymore. They're building an army of human cannon fodder." West's jaw tightened. "For what purpose?" Jones pulled up a grainy image captured by a resistance cell near Jupiter's orbit, a crystalline formation that seemed to devour a Concorde scout ship. "This was taken 3 days ago. The Concorde is fighting something at the edge of our solar system, something they're losing to." Jones met West's eyes. "They're not preparing us for membership in their precious Concorde. They're preparing us for war." West studied the image, a cold certainty settling in her stomach. "Then we need to accelerate the timeline." Dr. Chen, what do you need to have Prometheus operational in 4 months? The impossible, Chen replied without hesitation. West's gaze hardened as she looked back at the embryonic Dreadnought. Then that's exactly what we'll deliver. Hull breach on Deck 7. Automatic seals engaged. Admiral West braced against the command chair as the Prometheus shuddered under another impact. Warning lights bathed the bridge in crimson as damage reports flooded in from across the ship. Status on the radiation cascade drive, she demanded, voice steady despite the chaos. Dr. Chen's voice crackled through the comm, punctuated by the sound of electrical fires. 72% capacity, Admiral. The containment field is holding, but another direct hit to the engineering section will breach it. West nodded grimly. They had no choice but to launch the unfinished Dreadnought when the first Scourge scout ships bypassed the Concorde's outer system defenses and made straight for Earth. The Prometheus was barely 70% complete, life support systems jury-rigged weapons platforms untested, and crewed by a skeleton team of scientists and naval officers with no combat experience against alien threats. Tactical, what are we facing? West asked, turning to Commander Jones. Ilara's fingers danced across the holographic display. 4 crystalline vessels, configurations unlike anything in the Concorde database we requisitioned. They appear to be adapting to our defensive measures. On the main view screen, the Scourge ships glittered like deadly diamonds, their structures constantly shifting and reforming. They had already destroyed 3 of Earth's orbital defense platforms without slowing down. They're coordinating, Jones continued, eyes narrowing, moving to surround us. Traditional naval tactics, but with perfect synchronization. West studied the enemy formation, mind racing. The Prometheus was humanity's first true warship, but it was neither complete nor fully tested. Yet somehow, they needed to stop 4 alien vessels that had cut through Concorde defenses like they were nothing. Dr. Chen, is the radiation cascade weapon operational? A moment of silence. In theory, Admiral. But we've never tested it against a live target. The power requirements will drain our defensive systems for approximately 47 seconds while the cascade builds. 47 seconds without shields. West's mouth set in a grim line. Commander Jones, can we survive that long? Ilara didn't hesitate. No, Admiral. Not against all 4 ships. West nodded, decision made. Navigation. Plot a course directly between the 2 lead vessels. Maximum thrust. Admiral. The navigation officer's voice cracked. That's a collision course. Exactly. West's eyes never left the view screen. We're going to split their formation. Commander Jones, charge the radiation cascade weapon. Dr. Chen, prepare to divert all power to weapons on my mark. She opened a shipwide channel. All hands. This is Admiral West. Brace for high-G maneuvers and possible hull breaches. What we do here today isn't just for Earth. It's our first statement to the galaxy that humanity will not go quietly. The bridge crew secured themselves as the massive Dreadnought surged forward, engines straining against physics as they pushed the unfinished vessel to its limits. The Scourge ships, sensing the threat, began to realign their formation. They're adjusting to intercept, Jones reported. Radiation cascade weapon charged at 60% and climbing. Not enough, West muttered, watching the tactical display. Then she saw it. A microscopic hesitation in the Scourge ship's movements, a fractional delay in their coordinated response. They're communicating, she realized. There's a lag in their coordination when they change tactics. She turned to Jones. Target the space between them with a conventional missile barrage, full spread. I want to disrupt their formation. Conventional weapons have been ineffective against their hulls, Jones warned. We're not trying to destroy them. We're trying to distract them. West leaned forward. Fire. The Prometheus launched its first volley into combat, not the sophisticated radiation weapons they had built to defeat the Concorde, but old-fashioned missiles carrying nuclear payloads. The Scourge ships, expecting a direct attack, adjusted to intercept the incoming projectiles. "Now, Mr. Chen," West ordered, "all power to the Cascade weapon." As the Prometheus's shields dropped and the ship became terrifyingly vulnerable, the radiation cascade weapon powered up with a sound like reality itself being torn apart. "Damage report." Admiral West shouted over the blaring alarms as the Prometheus limped away from the engagement zone, trailing debris and venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. "We've lost decks 9 through 14, Commander Jones reported, blood trickling from a gash on her forehead. "Primary weapons array offline. Life support operating at minimal capacity." "But Admiral," her voice faltered as she stared at the tactical display, "the Scourge vessels are disintegrating." On the view screen, the crystalline ships that had moments ago seemed invincible were now fracturing, their structures collapsing inward as the radiation cascade effect propagated through their molecular bonds. It wasn't just damaging them, it was unmaking them at a fundamental level. West watched silently, face illuminated by the glow of the dying enemy ships. The radiation cascade weapon had worked beyond their wildest expectations. But at what cost? 37 crew members dead, critical systems failing, and the Prometheus's revolutionary drive damaged to the point where Chen wasn't certain they could restart it. "Admiral," Communications Officer Park interrupted. "We're being hailed by a Concorde battlecruiser. It's the Evolutionary Ascendant. High Executor Thrax is demanding our immediate surrender." As if to punctuate the demand, the massive Concorde vessel decloaked less than 10 kilometers off their starboard bow, weapon sports glowing with charged energy. "On screen," West ordered, straightening her singed uniform as best she could. Thrax's elongated face filled the display, his exoskeleton pulsing with patterns that translated to barely contained rage. "Admiral West, you have violated 17 different Concorde prohibitions regarding weapons development. Your abomination of a ship is an offense to evolved spacefaring standards. That abomination just saved your fleet from annihilation," West replied coolly. "The Scourge vessels were heading directly for your position after they finished with us. Your primitive understanding of the situation is noted," Thrax dismissed with a languid gesture. "Nevertheless, the technology aboard your vessel now falls under emergency acquisition protocols. You will power down all systems and prepare to be boarded." Chen's voice came urgently through West's private comm channel. "Admiral, they cannot get access to the Cascade technology. Their biological systems wouldn't just weaponize it, they'd become it. The entire Concorde fleet could transform into what would essentially be a radiation-based virus." West muted her end of the transmission to Thrax. "Options, Commander Jones." Ilara's fingers flew across the tactical console. "We can't outrun them, can't outfight them. But," she looked up, eyes bright with a dangerous idea. "The Cascade drive is damaged but not destroyed. If we overload it, we'd all die." Chen cut in. "Not necessarily," Jones countered. "The mathematical models showed unusual space-time distortion at peak Cascade levels. It's possible that we could create a localized wormhole," Chen finished, understanding dawning. "It's theoretical, completely untested. We might end up atomized or flung into intergalactic space." "Admiral," Thrax's voice grew impatient, "my boarding teams are preparing to launch. Continued defiance will result in the nullification of Earth's protectorate status." West unmuted her channel. "High Executor, we require 10 minutes to stabilize our containment systems before powering down. Safety protocols." Thrax's skin rippled with skepticism. "You have 5 minutes, after which we will facilitate your compliance." The transmission cut off, and West turned to her battered bridge crew. "Dr. Chen, prep the Cascade drive for controlled overload. Navigation, plot a course away from Earth. I don't want whatever happens next affecting the planet. Commander Jones, get me a weapon solution on the Ascendant's engine section. If they try to stop us before we're ready, target their biological propulsion nodes with everything we have left." "And if this works?" Jones asked quietly. If we survive and create this wormhole, where do we go? West's gaze hardened as she surveyed her damaged ship and wounded crew. Somewhere we can repair, rearm, and return. Because make no mistake, this isn't just about surviving anymore. The Concorde has shown its true face, and humanity won't forget. When we come back with more than one Dreadnought. She addressed the bridge crew. What we do now, we do not just for Earth, but for every species the Concorde has subjugated with their evolutionary superiority. Today we showed the galaxy that humanity can fight. When we return, we'll show them that humanity can win. That's impossible, Admiral West whispered, staring at the massive graveyard of ships stretching before the Prometheus's view screen. Thousands, perhaps tens of thousands, of derelict vessels drifted in the void, representing more design philosophies than humanity had ever imagined. The wormhole created by the Cascade Drive overload had deposited them. Somewhere the Concorde had never mentioned in any of their meticulous stellar catalogs. Spatial coordinates indicate we're approximately 27,000 light-years from Earth, Chen reported, his voice hushed with awe. But that's not what's impossible. Admiral, some of these ships match design specifications in our historical archives. West turned to him sharply. What do you mean? I mean that vessel. Chen pointed to a massive angular ship with distinctive radiator fins. Bears a striking resemblance to Soviet-era space station designs, and that one shows clear influence from ancient Mesopotamian architecture. Commander Jones studied her sensor readings with growing concern. Many of these ships show evidence of weapons damage, consistent patterns across different designs. Whatever destroyed them was methodical. Or whoever, West corrected grimly. Before she could elaborate, a proximity alert sounded. Contact, Jones called out. Small vessel, approaching from the debris field. Non-Concorde design. It's powering weapons. Shields up, West ordered. But hold fire. Broadcast on all frequencies. First contact protocols. The approaching ship, sleek and gunmetal gray with what appeared to be technological rather than biological propulsion, fired a precision burst that dissipated harmlessly against the Prometheus's shields. That was a scan, not an attack, Chen noted, studying the energy signature. Highly focused. They're analyzing our shield harmonics. The communications array crackled to life with a transmission unlike any they'd heard before. Mechanical and precise, with none of the organic undertones of Concorde communications. Unidentified vessel, you employ radiation-based technology, but your design is unknown to us. Identify your species in relation to the biological supremacy. West glanced at Chen, who nodded encouragingly. This is Admiral Karina West of the Earth vessel Prometheus. We have no allegiance to what you call the biological supremacy. We are refugees from their control. A long pause followed before the transmission resumed. Earth is listed in supremacy records as a recent acquisition. Minimum technological development. Categorized as evolutionary dead end. Yet your vessel employs radiation cascade technology. West couldn't help the grim smile that formed. We're quick learners, and we don't appreciate being categorized. Another pause. Then, stand by for visual transmission. The view screen shifted to show a humanoid figure, but not human. Skin like burnished copper and eyes with horizontal pupils. When it spoke, its mouth moved in perfect sync with the words. Not a translation, it was speaking English. I am Commander Vex of the Technological Defense Coalition. For 6,000 years, we have fought the biological supremacy you know as the Concorde. We are the survivors of 100 technological species they attempted to eradicate for the crime of evolving along a mechanical rather than biological path. Vex leaned closer to the screen, studying West with those strange horizontal pupils. If what you say is true, Admiral West, you've accomplished something unprecedented. You've developed technology that threatens the supremacy enough that they attempted to claim it rather than simply destroying you. They tried, West replied. They failed. Indeed, Vex's expression shifted subtly. And now you find yourself in the graveyard, the final resting place of those who defied the supremacy and lost. But perhaps... The alien commander paused. Perhaps you are the allies we have waited for. Follow my vessel to coordinates being transmitted to your navigational system. There is much you should see, and many who should see you. As the alien ship turned away, leading them deeper into the debris field, Chen moved to West's side. Admiral, do we trust them? West watched as they passed the wreckage of what was unmistakably an ancient Earth shuttle design that had never been built, some alternative history version of humanity that had encountered the Concorde and been eliminated. We don't have many options, Doctor, she replied quietly. But more importantly, we don't have many allies, and something tells me we're going to need everyone we can find. The Scourge is not a natural phenomenon, Xerex explained, her translucent fingers manipulating the holographic display. It is a weapon, the most sophisticated bioweapon ever created by the Concorde. Admiral West stood alongside Commander Vex in the heart of Nexus Station, the hidden headquarters of the Technological Defense Coalition. Around them gathered representatives from 17 different species, all technological civilizations that had survived Concorde purges by retreating to this distant sector. Xerex, a defector from the Concorde's bioengineering elite, continued her briefing. Her species resembled a cross between a praying mantis and a jellyfish, their bodies continually shifting in subtle ways that made West's eyes hurt if she looked too long. The Scourge was designed to target technological civilizations specifically, to consume their technology, analyze it, and adapt countermeasures. But something went wrong. It evolved beyond its parameters, developing the ability to target the Concorde's biological technology as well. Poetic justice, Commander Jones muttered, standing at West's side. The Prometheus had spent 3 weeks at Nexus Station, undergoing repairs using technology from a dozen different species, each contributing what they knew best. Not justice, Commander, Xerex corrected, her voice carrying the strange harmonic overtones of all Concorde species. Catastrophe. The Scourge was built with a fundamental safeguard, the inability to target genetic patterns from its source template. Source template? West asked. Xerex's body pulsed with what the Admiral had come to recognize as discomfort. Every bioweapon requires a baseline, a genetic foundation to build upon. The Scourge was built from genetic material the Concorde discovered thousands of years ago, scattered across multiple worlds. Get to the point, Xerex. Vex pressed, his copper-toned face impassive. The point, Commander, is that the source material wasn't native to those worlds. It had been seeded there. By whom or why? The Concorde never discovered, but they found it remarkably suitable for weaponization due to its inherent adaptability and aggression potential. Dr. Chen stepped forward, eyes narrowing as he studied the genetic sequences displayed in the hologram. These markers, they can't be. Yes, Doctor, Xerex confirmed. The Scourge was built using human DNA, or more precisely, proto-human DNA, collected from worlds where it had been deposited long before your species evolved on Earth. A stunned silence fell over the chamber. West's mind raced, trying to process the implications. So the Scourge can't attack humans. Is that why it diverted from Earth to target the Concorde core worlds? Initially, yes, Xerex replied. But the Scourge has been evolving, breaking free of its programmed limitations. We've intercepted Concorde communications indicating the Scourge is now actively seeking Earth, not to destroy it, but to acquire current human genetic samples. If it succeeds, it will incorporate our current evolutionary state into its own. Chen finished, face pale, and overcome its final limitation. Precisely. Xerex manipulated the display again, showing the advancing Scourge fleet, now hundreds of times larger than the scout ships they'd encountered. The Concorde Council has already evacuated their homeworld. They've written off the outer systems, including Earth, as acceptable losses while they attempt to reach a neighboring galaxy. West exchanged glances with Commander Jones, Then we need to return to Earth immediately. With what? Jones challenged. The Prometheus is one ship, a powerful one, but still just one. Even with the upgrades from our new allies, we can't stop a Scourge Armada. Vex, who had been silently observing, finally spoke. Not with one ship, no. He gestured, and the holographic display shifted to show a massive orbital construction facility hidden within an asteroid field, but perhaps with a fleet. West's eyes widened as she recognized the angular, distinctly human-inspired designs taking shape within the facility. Using the Prometheus as a template, Vex continued, "We've been adapting your radiation cascade technology to our existing vessels and building new ones. We call it the Liberation Fleet." Zyrex stepped closer to West. "The Concord created this threat using human DNA. Admiral, there is a certain symmetry that human technology may be the key to stopping it." West studied the growing fleet, a plan already forming in her mind. "How soon can we leave for Earth?" 3 days, Vex replied. "Just enough time to install the final upgrade to the Prometheus. We call it the Nexus Protocol." "And what does it do?" West asked. Vex's horizontal pupils contracted slightly, the equivalent of a smile. "It makes one ship become many. The Concord is about to learn why technological evolution can be more terrifying than biological." Earth's orbital defense grid had fallen. The Scourge Fleet, a vast crystalline armada that shimmered like a deadly constellation against the blackness of space, had brushed aside humanity's desperate resistance as if it were nothing. Billions watched from below as their homeworld's last defenses crumbled. "The Prometheus has returned." The voice, broadcast across every communication channel on the planet, belonged to Dr. Chen, transmitting from a hidden facility beneath the Antarctic ice. "Admiral West is leading a coalition fleet. Hold on, Earth. Help has arrived." In high orbit, reality itself seemed to tear open as a massive wormhole materialized, disgorging not one ship but hundreds. The Liberation Fleet, led by the now transformed TDS Prometheus. Admiral Karina West stood on a bridge that barely resembled its original configuration. The Prometheus had been reborn during its time with the Technological Defense Coalition, its hull reinforced with alloys from a dozen worlds, its weapons systems upgraded with technologies the Concord had spent millennia trying to suppress. Multiple Scourge configurations detected, Commander Jones reported, her hands dancing across the tactical interface. "They're already adapting to our arrival." "Deploy the Nexus Protocol," West ordered. "All ships, execute Formation Hydra." Across the fleet, the revolutionary technology developed at Nexus Station activated. The massive coalition vessels, each already formidable, began generating localized wormholes, allowing them to project weapons fire from multiple spatial coordinates simultaneously. To the Scourge's collective consciousness, it appeared as if they were suddenly facing not hundreds but thousands of ships, attacking from impossible angles. "The Scourge command ship is altering course," Jones announced. "It's heading directly for Antarctica. They've located Dr. Chen's facility." West's jaw tightened. The facility housed not just Chen but the biological countermeasure they had developed, a modified version of the radiation cascade effect that could unravel the Scourge's artificial evolution by targeting the human DNA markers within it. But the countermeasure had proven too unstable to weaponize conventionally. It would have to be delivered directly into the Scourge command ship's central node. "Status on the countermeasure?" West asked over a secured channel. Chen's voice came through, tense but determined. "Final synthesis complete, Admiral. But our delivery system can't penetrate their defenses. We need to get it directly into their central processing node." West exchanged glances with Commander Vex, who had joined the Prometheus as liaison to the coalition forces. "The Prometheus could do it," Vex said quietly. "With the Nexus Protocol fully engaged, we could open a wormhole directly inside their command structure. And the radiation backwash would destroy this ship," West finished. She had known since they developed the plan that this might be necessary. The Prometheus, Earth's first and finest dreadnought, would have to be sacrificed. Jones looked up from her console, face pale. "Admiral, the Scourge vessels are changing formation. They're coalescing." On the view screen, the crystalline ships began to merge, forming a massive lattice structure that pulsed with energy. At its center, something was taking shape, something disturbingly humanoid. "They're accelerating their evolution," Vex warned, attempting to fully integrate the human genetic template. West stood, decision made. Navigation. Plot a direct course for the Scourge central structure. Commander Jones, prepare to engage the Nexus protocol at maximum capacity. Dr. Chen, prepare the countermeasure for remote detonation on my signal. She opened a shipwide channel. All non-essential personnel, proceed to escape pods immediately. Coalition vessels will provide cover for your evacuation. As the bridge crew stared at her in shock, West's voice remained steady. "I gave you all a choice when we left Earth. Today, I make my own. One ship for one planet seems like a fair trade." Outside, the battle raged as the Coalition fleet fought to protect Earth. The Prometheus, humanity's first true warship, turned toward its final engagement, a lone dreadnought against the heart of a living nightmare, carrying the hopes of not just humanity, but every technological species in the galaxy. West took her place in the command chair, eyes fixed on the approaching enemy. "All hands, prepare for final approach. Let's show the universe what happens when they push humanity too far."